I am happy to say that Indianapolis actually has more than one wall, but one wall we do have is in Crown Hill Cemetery, and our good buddy Mary Friend went over there and took some pictures of the wall that are there. It was part of a project that started last year, which actually was called the Before I Die Festival, and it took place in April, where they had some guest speakers there and some, not only they introduced the wall, but then they also took some time to visit the graves of some people who were inspirational, people who had a great impact on Indianapolis and the community. They visited Eli Willie's grave and reformer Mary Wright Seawall, as well as Air Force hero Colonel James Kassler. I encourage you during this Lenten season to take some time to go over to Crown Hill and see what your neighbors' hopes and dreams are before they die. Perhaps it will spur on something in some kind of thinking in you that you too can consider the question, before I die. Today is our first Sunday in Lent, and this is the season for prayer, fasting, and reflection. Isn't that exciting? For those of us, all 7 of us, who participated in the Ash Wednesday service this past week, we heard the words while the minister put a cross of ash on our heads. From dust you have come, to dust you shall return. Some people had it put on their hands, but a lot of us had it put on our head. From dust you have come, to dust you will return. And now I wonder why there were so few of you there. Not a real exciting day, this Lent thing is it? Not real exciting to be reminded that you have come from the dust, and guess what? You will be dust again, and nobody will remember you, and it won't matter. That's not what Lent was all about that night, nor will it be here at the garden. Some may find the topic of death a little uncomfortable. But when we all have a willingness to look within and to reflect on how perhaps to reflect on our lives and how long we have, perhaps, just perhaps, we can find better ways of living into the life that God calls us to. Now, Lent is that 6-week period of time leading up to Easter. The word Lent comes from the word lengthen, which is an Old English word that means to lengthen. As we all know, this is the season where spring is coming into being, and those long, dark nights are getting shorter, and the days and the light are longer. It is the season where Christians are reminded of Jesus going into the wilderness to fast and to pray for 40 days in preparation for his final days in earthly ministry, his crucifixion and his resurrection. There are many references in the Bible to this magic number 40. You'll see it over and over again. And I'm not really quite sure why the church fathers decided all of the things they did in the Bible, but this is one thing I am very sure of. I am very sure that the 40 days of Lent are actually based on text that's found in 3 of the Gospels, and it's based specifically on Jesus' experience in the wilderness. This year we're going to look at the Matthew text. And it goes like this. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished, I bet. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to the high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. And he said to him, "All these I will give you if you fall down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. Since I've been at the garden and I've been reading this text, I imagine angels coming in with a food cart, because I bet he's really hungry. It's been about 40 days. Now, if you grew up in the church, you heard this text every Lent. You heard it this Sunday on this particular Sunday, the first Sunday of Lent, always growing up, whether you remember it or not. It's what ministers like to refer to as Satan Sunday. Yeah, it's Satan Sunday. It's the devil on my back Sunday. It's the devil made me do it Sunday. And we know how to preach the devil on your back Sunday. The problem is that's not going to work at the garden. You're pretty realistic people. And you have informed me that there is literally no devil on your back. And you have told me that you're not sure that this speaks to the context of your faith today. So unfortunately, I can't preach a Satan Sunday sermon. But what I can preach, my friends, is this. When Jesus was put into a position where he could have lost sight of his goal and objective in life, he did not. He didn't let anything get into the way of his call to share the good news so that we all may know the power of God's love and light from within. He let nothing get in the way. Now, in that context, I have to say, I think I can get it for my own life and for your life as well. I mean, we literally do not have a physical devil following us around and asking us questions on a daily basis. But the truth is that we are tempted in ways to not live our lives as the precious children of God that God has called us to be. We are tempted, and in fact tempted in evil ways, to not be all that we can be. See, God did not call us to live a mediocre, ordinary life. No, we are called to live an extraordinary life. There are lots of temptations out there to be less than what God has called us to be, that keeps us from being God's beloved and sharing that belovedness in the whole world. To be honest, I do get being tempted by evil, but not in big ways like I don't want to kill anybody, and I don't want to beg, and I don't want to borrow, and I don't want to steal. Not those kind of evil ways. Evil creeps into my life. Evil oozes into my life. Evil temptation oozes in. The temptation of living in mediocrity. That, for me, is an evil temptation. Saying, yeah, this is all right. I can get away with this. And then doing the same with all of you and the people around me. Yeah, living an okay life. Let's just do it. Oh, I can't wait for this day to be over. I think that's wrong. I think that's what Lent is all about, is getting to that kind of ooziness where you suddenly realize, this is not the life I want to live. For me, evil temptation is anything that distracts me from being the person that God has called me to be. Believing I can find comfort in food, and so I give up on prayer. Believing that indeed it is a good quality use of my time to watch television until I'm kind of numb and not thinking anymore, and I'm watching things like weird things that make no sense, like duck calling people, and that their lives are so miserable it somehow makes me feel, but not those guys, they're rich. But, you know, those people whose lives are miserable, and you're like, well, at least that's not my life. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. We're called to live each day to the fullest. Evil temptation is self-doubt and listening to that voice from within that says, oh, there is no way you can do this. Evil, for me, evil temptation is that voice that compares me to other people, or that voice that encourages me to keep other people down so that I might feel a little better about myself. Lent is realizing each day is a precious gift from God, a precious gift from God. Just like any gift, it is freely given, and you accepted life, whether you know it or not. Somewhere along the line, your cells came together and you accepted the gift of life from God. What you're going to do with this gift is up to you. You can treat it as just that, this precious, amazing thing called life. Or you can just simply ooze your way through it. I've been a pastor for a number of years now. Wow, I can't even think about how long I've been a pastor. And one of the greatest gifts for me as a pastor is when someone has a willingness to come and talk to me about how they want to be remembered and what their life celebration might look like. Now, what's interesting to me is most often these conversations don't come from people that I'm really close to. What it usually happens is somebody knows somebody who wants to talk to a pastor about their death. This happened a number of years ago, and I will never forget it. I received a call from somebody whose mother was dying, and they knew that she was going to die, and that she wanted to talk to somebody. I'd never met the woman before in my life. So I went over to meet her, and I said, so when you reflect on your life, what would you like for people to say? And she said, well, they'll say plenty, I guarantee you. But then she smiled and she said, this is what I want it to look like. She said, 2 bars and 2 bartenders. That's what she said. I don't care where you do it. Do it at the funeral home. Do it in somebody's backyard. I don't care. 2 bars, 2 bartenders. And martinis. And she had the recipe right there that she handed me. Dirty martinis made like this was her own thing. And then she went on to say, and I want people to spend some time talking, laughing, and celebrating. Talking, laughing, and celebrating. See, when she reflected on her life, that's what was most important to her. It wasn't the fact that she actually was quite successful in the community of Indianapolis and known for being a philanthropist and known for making a difference in a variety of different ways and wearing the hottest clothes ever. That never even came into the conversation. The conversation was, I want people talking, laughing, and celebrating life. That's what she wanted. So sometime later, that day came, and I had also forgotten about this, but she had also asked that next to her coffin be put one of these dirty martinis that she used to drink on a little stand next to the coffin. And then at the end of the instructions, it says, and at the end of the service, I'd like you to drink that dirty martini. I don't like martinis. She didn't care that nobody liked martinis. It was this is the oddest funeral, most beautiful funeral I've ever been to, because at the end we did just that. And everyone lifted a martini glass, and everyone shared in a little bit of tears and a little bit of laughter. And as I looked around, I thought, this is what Jesus is talking about, living each day to the fullest. This is what communion looks like sometimes. This is what celebrating a life well lived looks like. I will never forget that woman. I will never forget that experience. And that experience has given me some courage to think about my own life celebration. I am honored if anybody wants to share in a conversation about that. I am honored to do so, because let me tell you, it makes a world of difference for your family, for your children. They get a little insight into you in a different way. So I just want to encourage you to think about that. See, when you think about your death, it doesn't make you think about death. It actually makes you think about life and the life you're living. As we begin this Lenten journey, I think that is a really good place to start. Let's first start by thinking about dying. Let's just put it out there. This is a season where we remember, from ash we have come, to ash we return. So let's figure out how to live, in the meantime, an extraordinary, rich, full life. Before I die, I want to straddle the international dateline. Before I die, I want to sing to millions. Before I die, I want to plant a tree. Before I die, I want to hold her just one more time. Before I die, I want to be completely myself. Before I die, I will love. Before I die, I will mend a relationship. Before I die, I want all who come into my presence to know the unconditional love of God. I want to encourage you to join us in this 6-week adventure. I look forward to seeing what you will do to seek to live each day to the fullest, to name and claim a rich, full life. In closing, we have some thoughts here today from one who did discover that he was going to die and began living with great intention. Someone after the first service shared with me this about Steve Jobs, who is known as kind of being a rough guy. Rumor has it that at the very last moment of his life, he said, "Wow, wow." Hear these words from Steve Jobs.